Mauri ora me te maunga rongo. Mauri ora me te maunga rongo. Microphone's coming. Am I even hooked up? Atamari e te whānau. No, I'm getting spike here. Atamari e te whānau. Atamari. So, morena, atamari e te whānau. Mauri ora, mauri aroha. Hope you are all having a great morning. Welcome to the show. Don't mind the background. What we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at a video. It's an interview, and it's with Michael Beckwith, and he's talking about the 4 stages of spiritual awakening. So today we're going to start this podcasting journey with this video. Now I'm going to leave this up on the channel. This is the start of a series of videos, commentaries about a number of things, but specifically health, different areas of health, mental health, physical health, mainly mental and spiritual health. Because we know there's a need out there. There's a need for more spiritual information, especially in many communities. There is a spiritual awakening happening, but not everybody is at the same level of spiritual awareness or understanding. A lot of us have, well, especially in my circles, we have knowledge of our cultural practices, traditional practices. We have knowledge of our history. But there was a point in time when our spiritual practices were interrupted. They were cut off. My people were cut off brutally cut off. But we're not going to focus on the brutality of it all. What we're focusing on is the spiritual health of our people. My people, our people, us. We're going to focus on spiritual health and how to regain ourselves, how to remember ourselves, things by way of spiritual practices, by way of practices that are going to help us practically in our life, So this channel is called Holistic Heads. This channel is called Holistic Heads, and this is where we get together, we talk about these kind of things. We have we speak about a whole lot of different, a lot of things: health, wealth, and spirituality, for abundance. So that we can get in touch with the abundance that's in us and all around us, that we seem to have forgotten about. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, I mean, there was a time when the natural world here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, aka New Zealand, was untainted and unpolluted and uncorrupted and unpoisoned and not poisoned. There was a time when that wasn't like the case. And our rivers were all beautiful flowing streams, and our lakes were just abundant with life, and just there was an abundance on the land. You had you had eels and tunas that used to do their migratory runs, and they would go from here all the way to Tonga, and then, or the islands, the Pacific Islands, and then they would come back down here and spawn. Then they would go back up there. Oh, then the little baby eels would go all the way back up to up to the Pacific. There was a time when this place was abundant. There was a time when the rivers were clean. There was a time when the bush and the forests, the ngahere was just pristine. There was a time like that because we as Maori didn't have microplastics. I mean, we as Maori didn't have we didn't have a lot of the stuff that they had today, which was better for the environment. And then come the arrival of the European, and then now we have what we have. But we're not focusing on that, right? We're focusing on what we can do to bring about change in the world, and that's by changing ourselves. We're shifting the paradigm within ourselves, and we're aligning ourselves more with the um, with the with the spirit, with nature. There's a bit of information that I picked up just recently. It's probably July this year. We went to July and June, July is a very important time for us here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, but also throughout the Pacific and even in Asia, because we follow certain stars, celestial bodies, to gauge time. So we have a calendar of our own that follows the star system Pleiades that we know of as Matariki. That's known throughout the Pacific as from different names, but all similar. Things like Matali'i and Makali'i and Ma'ali'i. Throughout the Pacific, Matariki is the name we use for the Pleiades star, for the Pleiades star system. Okay, for the Pleiades star system. I know in Japan, I'm pretty sure it's in Japan where they call it Subaru, where we get the WRX, STI, But we follow this thing in June, July. In June, July, I think it lines up with the Chinese New Year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Matariki we observe in around June, July. Actually, it's in June, but every 3 years we add a 13th month. We add a 13th month, and we come to then we observe it in July on that third year. There is also a way. There's also peoples that have 13 months in the year, so then they would observe it in June. So I say all that to say that there's a story that there was a quarter or some knowledge that was handed to us, was given to us at this wānanga we went to in June. It was a wānanga, matariki, so we took our kids out to, we took our kids out to, uh, we took our kids out to make tū ki te parae o whakaue, mihi atu ana ki a Ngāti Whakaue, kia te arawa waka, ki te whānau, o Ngāti Whakaue, mo te manaki i a mātou i noho nei i roto i a rātou. So we want to just shout out to the whānau of Ngāti Whakaue out in Maketu, who hosted us out there. And he was one of the brothers, Te Wata. He came and he gave us a koro. He gave us a koro about these other stars. So what we generally know of as Matariki, it used to start off even when I first started learning about it, there was only 7 stars of Matariki. Waiti, Waita, Waipunarangi, Waiti, Waita, Waipunarangi, Ururangi, Tupuanuku, Tupuarangi, Matariki. So you had those ones. But then a couple of years later, then we had new ones come in, or not new ones come in, but some would say, oh no, there's 9 stars, and there were 2 more added, which is Pohutukawa and Te Waitirangi. And they all have different meanings. I suppose I'll explain it. So Waiti is your fresh water. Waita is your salt water. So these are stars that are related to natural phenomena or natural elements or natural phenomena on Earth. And we observe those stars of Matariki to understand or to foresee, to see what the energies are bringing and on the Earth. So when you can look up at those stars and then you see, some are brighter, some are twinkly, you make your observations of it. And our ancestors used to be able to read it like a book. Like some people pull out the app and they go, oh yeah, let me have a look what the weather's gonna be. These fellas here will look, they'll be like, oh yeah, oh, it's gonna be 2 meter swells and they're pretty accurate. They would read the elements. So white tea is your fresh water. Is fresh water. That's all of everything to do with the fresh water. So all your rivers, all your lakes. I mean your rivers and your lakes and even the life that exists in there. So all your little coda, your little crayfish or whatever, I don't know what they call them in Pākehā. But your trout, although I don't think we had trout before it was introduced. But your tuna, your freshwater pippies out there in the lakes. You got all types of different life in there. Eh? Waiti. Waita is your salt water, obviously, the ocean, all the life and abundance that's in the ocean. Tupua nuku is food that's grown beneath the ground. So that's your riwai or your potatoes, your kumara, and just things like that. Everything that exists under the ground. Because, it's not just the kai that we eat, like a spud that grows under the ground. There's a worm under there too. There's a little microbes under there as well. There's there's all the different minerals and things inside the soil. In fact, Sadhguru always says that you can get a handful of soil, and there'll be billions of microbes and life forms in that one little thing if you break it right down, um, on a micro level. But that's tupua nuku. Tupu is to grow. Nuku is very short for papatua nuku, or Earth Mother. So tupua nuku is below the ground. Tupuarangi is food that's growing, or things that grow above the land, above the ground. So you got trees, but you even got all your lettuces and your other things, your cabbage and all of that. That's tupuanuku, tupuarangi. It's still above the ground, but we generally refer to them as you know trees and fruits and hanging things. But in my mind, if it's above the ground, tupuarangi, because you got rangi, and then below the ground, tupuanuku. That's for, and then you have waipunarangi. Waipunarangi is wai is water, puna is a well or spring or pool. Waipuna rangi is rangi nui, the sky father. So the water, the pool of water in the sky, you know, which is the rains, right? So Waipunarangi is the rains, and Ururangi. Ururangi is the winds. Uru is to enter in. Its winds is such a. I think it's why Tawhiri Matia, who is the god of the winds, was the only one to reject his brothers, wanting to separate the earth from the sky, so that we could live on the earth. There was a time when the sky father and the earth mother were in close embrace. That's our story, and he was the only one to reject it. There's something special about this, about Tawhiri Mata, and when you look into the kororo of Matariki, actually there are those that say that Matariki is actually the eyes of this atua ariki, um, Tawhiri Mata. He was the one that rejected and went to war against his brothers, and then he ascended to the heavens and he stayed with his father. He's the only one to stay with his father. Everybody else, all the males, stayed on the earth. But yeah, all the other sons and children of Vangi and Papa stayed on earth. So he has a special place. And when we I look at it like when we're looking at Rangi and Papa, I'm looking at root chakra, because you can't get any more rooted and grounded, rooted, pause, and grounded than the earth. What are you grounding to without the ground? So Papa Tunuku, so root chakra, and then your sky, or your crown chakra is your sky thing. It even goes with the colors. So, right, we'll go into that another time. Oh, alarm. So, um, ururangi is the winds. So white tea, fresh salt, fresh water, white tar, salt water, tupua nuki, food that grows under the ground, tupuarangi, or things that grow under the ground, tupuarangi, things that grow above the ground, waipunarangi, the rains, or the waters of the sky, ururangi, the winds of the sky, ururangi, rangi again being rangi nui, sky father, ururangi is, uh, Uru is to enter into, or no, it's not. What is it? But it means, you have winds coming from all directions, So ururangi. So these are the winds. Now, we're still talking about Matariki, the star system, and these are the different names of the stars. Um, After ururangi, then you'll have Pohutukawa. Pohutukawa is the star related to uh, dying and death, and we say that when we pass, we travel our ancestral pathway back to a place. There's a place. Okay, so we can go back to a place, and the the roots of the Pohutukawa, they come down. They come down the cliffs, and then they come to to the water, to where the water meets the shore. So when we talk about when our people pass, or we make that spiritual journey back to the spiritual realm, we go back to these te aka o te pūtukawa, the vines, or no, the roots in the vine, or the roots of the pūtukawa tree, and we would go to these places, and symbolically we would have pūtukawa on our cliffs, or other people had different things. Other tribes had different um, names, different ascension paths, or different pathways that they would take. It's all kind of depending on your location. Um, and that has to do with all sorts of things. Personally, I think there's ley lines and things like that. Just energetic, the flow, like streams, where you can catch where the spirit would catch these this flow of energy, and they would descend down the Pōhutukawa roots to the ocean, to a body of water, and then they would cross the ocean to what we call Hawaii ki nui, Hawaii ki roa, Hawaii ki pā mama. That's the ancient. That's our ancient homeland, which is sounds like Hawaii, eh? So but the lineage is long of our people. The lineage is long, and it goes back to those places. And Hawaii ki nui, Hawaii ki roa, Hawaii ki pāmama, or Hawaii ki is the ancient homeland. So they would descend from these Pūtakawa trees, wherever they were on the country, and then reach the ocean and travel across the ocean back to Hawaii. So that's Pōhutukawa. And then the other star that make up the Waiti, Waita, Tupuanuku, Tupuarangi, Waipunarangi, Ururangi, Pōhutukawa, and Hiwaitirangi. Hiwaitirangi is, well, rangi, also, it's the same. It's it's hiwa in the sky. So hiwa, so we use Pūtakawa to the star Pūtakawa within their constellation as the star that we say that our loved ones in spirit return back to, or ascend to Pūtakawa, or from to Pūtakawa, right? They say ascend to Pūtakawa, but Hawaii Te Rangi would represent the would represent life. So if Pūtakawa was a representation, or a symbolic of death, Hiwai Te Rangi is symbolic of life. And Hiwai Te Rangi, things like new birth, spring, like Hiwai Te Rangi also can mean it's where we would consider our goals, dreams, and aspirations. When you think about it, when a newborn child or a newborn child comes into your life, you're like, you want to think, you start thinking about the future of that child. Like, man, am I going to be able to feed? I need to be able to feed this child. I need, so your goals and your aspirations, they start to like project to the future, and then because you're trying to look after this life. And but it can be it's symbolic, so it can mean the same thing for anything. You could have a new business. Oh yeah, I want to think, and so you project uh, to the future. Whereas Pohutakawa would be that which is past from the past. But Hiwai Te Rangi is your sort of projections to the future, goals, dreams, aspirations, things like that. Wow, and so that's 8. Uh, Waiti, Waita, Tupuanaku, Tupuarangi, Ururangi, Waipunarangi, Pohutakawa, Hiwai Te Rangi, and Matariki. This makes up the 9 stars of Matariki. And I bring that up to say because when we went to this Pananga Matariki at Whakaue just this year in June, brother gave us another kororo about 13 stars. I won't go into too much detail with that because I'm still looking into that. I'm still researching it. But what it is, well, one thing that did stick out from this kororo was Hiwi Nuku and Hiwi Rangi. Now, Hiwi Nuku and Hiwi Rangi can mean the same, that they're symbolic of the same thing that Hiwai Te Rangi is about. Goals, dreams, aspirations, projections for the future, life, right? But he has a Hiwirangi and Hiwinuku. And the way he explained it was that they're both about goals and aspirations. But basically, that your goals and aspiration, Hiwinuku on earth, should match and align with the goals and aspirations in the heavenly realms. So as above, so below, type of thing. Hiwi nuku, hiwi rangi is about aligning your goals and aspirations on earth as we are in this physical realm with the goals and aspirations, or more like the universal laws, or the tikanga, or the kawa. You have to align yourself with that in order to find life and to have abundance in life and things like that. So let your goals and aspirations on earth match the goals and aspirations in the heavens, in the heavenly realms. So Hiwi Nuku, Hiwi Rangi. 2 added stars onto the Matariki constellation, or the corridor around Matariki, which is the constellation of Pleiades. Okay, so anyway, went off on a bit of a tangent on that one, but it's all good. We just flowing with the spirit. We just going with the flow. What do we? Yeah. So what we're going to do, Fanu, is I'm going to play for you a video. Let's just bring it up. This video is called. It's a thing with it's an interview. I can't remember what the name of the podcast is called, but her name is Alyssa Nobriga, and she's speaking with Michael Beckwith. Michael Beckwith has been around for a long time. Those of you that know him, he's a great speaker. And I really resonate with a lot of his kōrero because, man, sometimes we think the seems as though he's reading my mind, and that sort of happens on the spiritual journey. Is when so when things sort of resonate with you, they end up saying the things that you're thinking in your mind. So it's like and depending on where you are in your stages of growth, personal growth and development, spiritual growth specifically, you'll depending on where you are with the certain things, certain people will resonate. They say that when the student is ready, the teacher will be revealed. So the teacher or your guru, uh, Sadhguru calls a guru, somebody that is that brings the light. Somebody that brings light in the dark. I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember exactly what he said, but what I do remember, what I do know is what he was saying is that when you're ready, depending on what level you're at, whatever level, and it's not like a hierarchy. It's not like, oh, I'm up here, you're down there, or I'm down here and you're up there. It's not like that. It's like wherever you are, that's where you are. And when you embrace your journey, when you embrace your journey, you just accept where you are. There's a lot of inner work that needs to be done. A lot of unlearning about the world that we need to do with ourselves. In fact, the way I look at view spirituality, and the way I view spirituality is like the spirit is there. It's eternal. It's infinite. It's eternal, and and we've gone and put all of these things on it, our identifications, our culture, our just all of our ideas and ideals and concepts. We put them all on, layered them all on, and some of us have become those things. But we're still the spiritual being having a physical human experience, and so I feel like the path of spiritual enlightenment, spirituality, this journey is about peeling off those layers, you know. It's about peeling off those layers, and that's the inner work that you got to do. Is or if you choose, but it's about peeling off the layers of who we think we are to get to who we truly are, and who we truly are on the inside, or who we truly are not even on the inside, because there's no inside outside. It's all one thing. But anyway, as I diverge, I'm going to play this video, and he has in here in this video, and she talks about it. They talk about it, 4 stages of spiritual growth, spiritual awakening. You know, when the world is happening to us, by us, oh no, to us, by us, through us, and as us. And he goes into explaining all of that. And I really love that corridor. It's really resonated with me. I'm going to play this. We're going to play this it goes for about an hour. So we'll come back in an hour, and then we'll have another discussion, a little bit of a discussion about that. So peace, love, and life to the fam. Whānau, mauri ora, mauri aroha me te mau ngā rongo. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed this video. Um, Leave some comments in the chat, what you think about it, and how you and whether it resonates with you or not. We have a Facebook community on Facebook, a private Facebook community called Holistic Heads community, where we play these videos, where we discuss things like that, where we also will be posting our events when we have kind of wānanga or retreats, spiritual retreats and things like that. So, yeah. So enjoy the video. I'll see you when we come back. Peace, love, and life.
I teach people to be intentional and not allow the world to determine your mood or your attitude. You get to determine that.
Yeah.
So people have this negative bias about all this stuff going wrong, and they'll get in a bad mood before they even walk out the door.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got to go do this today. Oh, I'm going to bump into that person. They already set it up.
Yeah.
But you can actually design vibrationally your day, your week, your life.
Yeah.
So oftentimes people get into the law of attraction, but they would separate themselves from what they were trying to attract. It's out there.
Yes.
I'm going to attract that to me.
Yes. Oh, this is so important for people to hear. I just want to highlight, double click on what you're saying.
Yeah. People want to attract it to them, but they're saying they don't have it.
And that I'm separate from it.
I'm separate from it. But when you realize the law of attraction is a linguistic convenience for feeling that it's already happening.
Welcome. I'm Alyssa Nobriga, your host of the Healing and Human Potential podcast, a place for you to discover the multidimensionality of what it means to be human. We'll be exploring the intersection between ancient wisdom and modern everyday life, really diving deep into the art of human potential through the lens of psychology, spirituality, and coaching. Let's let the magic unfold. Today, we're going to dive into the 4 stages of consciousness and how to shift your perspective to open to a whole new level of freedom. And so in this episode, we'll break down why what's meant for you will never pass you, share practical exercises to enhance your ability to manifest, and unpack how money is a spiritual path. I have the honor of sitting down with Michael Beckwith, who is one of Oprah's Super Soul Sunday 100 group. He's also a best-selling author, an influential spiritual voice, and the founder of Agape Center. He's literally transformed the lives of millions globally, and today he's here to share his wisdom, knowledge, and insights to support you. I just want exercises to enhance your ability to manifest and unpack how money is a spiritual path. I have the honor of sitting down with Michael Beckwith, who is one of Oprah's Super Soul Sunday 100 group. He's also a best-selling author, an influential spiritual voice, and the founder of Agape Center. He's literally transformed the lives of millions globally, and today he's here to share his wisdom, knowledge, and insights to support you. I just want to start off with talking about one of the most profound things I think I've ever heard, and it came from you, where you talk about your 4 stages of spiritual awakening, 4 levels of consciousness. It blew my mind. It's so clear. I find it so helpful. And I would love if you're open just to sharing a bit about what the 4 stages are, and so that people can get a context for how this looks in the practical life.
Absolutely. Those particular stages emerged. I was a faculty at a metaphysical university, and one of the students, this is years ago, raised her hand and said, there seems to be a contradiction in the book. I said, what do you mean? She says, one part of the book, it says, you can visualize it, you can have it all. Other part of the book talks about surrender. She said, I said, it's not a contradiction. And I walked up to the blackboard at the time, and I said, they're not contradictions, they're stages. I said, the first stage is the victim stage, where we think something is happening to us. That's called to us. I said, the second stage is the manifester stage. It's called by us. Where you learn to use your mind properly, your thoughts, your conversations, et cetera, visualization, to actually begin to create the kind of world you want to live in. The third stage is through us, where once you've done a tremendous amount of work on stage 2, your subconscious changes, and you find yourself in the zone more. You find yourself in flow motion. It's a flow that happens. So something is operating through you. And the 4th stage is a state of being, where it's operating as you. So it just came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
The 4 stages like that. And then I began to, when I started my spiritual center in 1986, before that, I used the stages to birth the vision process. Now, those 2 stages are delineated. Stage 1 and 2 is from your personality. Stage 3 and 4 is your soul, your super soul self, your real self operating. And so we don't demonize the personality.
That's right.
It's a wonderful lampshade. It's a wonderful, but the super soul self, the real self, is unadulterated by time or space. It's untouched by it, and that begins to take over. So those were the four, how it came into being, and of course it's been. I've added more to it. I have a book on it, and it keeps redefining itself at higher and higher levels. But many people, such as yourself, will point back to those stages and say, that changed my life. It gave me a framework to work from.
Yeah, it's really so clean. And I feel like more people would be confused around through you and as you.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit of the distinction for just to help people land that
Absolutely. Through you, you're a channel. You're a vehicle. You're an opening. You're a place through which life, by whatever name you choose to call it, is expressing through you. People have shared about being in the zone, or they may have been planning something, and then something takes them over, takes them beyond their plans, and then that's closely aligned with the state of being where the line of demarcation dissolves and you realize you're it. There's no other. You are an emanation of the only life that there is. So that sense of separation dissolves. So some people have moments of that, where suddenly they realize they're one with that tree. They're one with the individual in front of them, one with all of life. They're one with earth. There's no separation. As within, so without, it's all the same. So for many people, that doesn't last a long time, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. It changes your whole trajectory and intention.
It's everything.
Yeah.
And I there's, I would say, no judgment in any of the stages.
No. And they're not linear.
Yes, exactly.
It's like in one area of your life, you may feel victimized. Another area of your life, you may feel like a master. And so it's a dance.
I'm even the story or the feeling of victimization could come up. And it could be stage 4 where it's not me feeling it. It's just energy expressing.
Oh, yes.
So now just as we're talking, I'm seeing kind of the connection with those.
Well, basically, the mystery of our being beyond the conditioned self is able to witness all of that. And you can actually see sadness. You can see regret. You can see all of it and not try to interfere with it. And through observation of it, anything we observe changes on a subatomic level just based on observation, it begins to change. But you're not identifying with it by trying to get rid of it.
That's right.
Or trying to enhance it.
That's right. I always say that if you want to get stuck with something, judge it and identify with it.
Absolutely.
So then the opposite is true.
Absolutely.
I remember when I was, just to give a story around stage 3 and 4, kind of vacillating in consciousness between those two. I was designing my certification program. So I train and teach coaches. And I have never felt more spiritual support for anything in my life. There was so much light on my back pouring through. And that was more the surrender, letting go. And then there was moments of no separation.
Right.
And yet I was fully showing up in my humanity, fully showing up in the co-creation of it. Co-creation would be stage 3. Beyond that was just it all happening.
Yes.
And that's where the surrender came. And it was so enlivening. And I've been wanting people to talk about, and we'll talk about this in a moment, but awakened doing, really not getting caught, honoring both. But one other frame that I found really helpful, and you've probably heard of this, is content and context. And so
it's all what I teach.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And for people that are new to this framework, it's like the analogy is like the context is the projector, is the screen, is awareness, our spiritual nature.
Yeah.
Whereas the content is the images, the stories. And a lot of people get so caught in the sensations, the stories, the identifications that we lose the context, the projector, the screen.
Right.
And when we realize that that's real freedom, is waking up to the context that there's a freedom here no matter what thoughts, what sensations underneath all of that, the stressful beliefs and emotional reactions.
Opinions, everything.
There's peace.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if it's a sad movie or a happy movie, the peace underneath it is always accessible by accepting whatever it is. It leads us to opening to that.
Acceptance and embracing.
Yes.
Without pushing away. I often use the analogy of the ocean, which is primarily water, and then that's the context. Content is plankton, seaweed, fish, human pollution,
Yeah.
boats. And the moment when a person begins to realize, as you were just talking, that they're not the content, they're actually the context, that's the beginning of awakening.
Yeah.
And so you don't deny that there's content there,
Yes.
but the content is passing through your
Yeah.
consciousness,
Yeah.
which is context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so helpful. It's like when I'm not identified as the wave, I wake up to the entire ocean.
Absolutely.
And that's the freedom.
Yes.
And that's available for anyone in any moment.
Absolutely.
I love that. And so I'm so happy thank you for that framework. I think it's so profound and powerful. And I really appreciate a very grounded spirituality where most people listening are having families, they have dreams and visions, and they're very much in the world and wanting to live a deep, truthful, clear, conscious life. And so back in the day, I started writing a book called Stillness and Stilettos, having a foot in both
I like
worlds.
that.
It's like honoring both equally, the form and formless.
Yes.
And for me, what's been true is when I pendulum, I used to do a lot of silent retreats.
Yeah.
And then I pendulumed. I wanted to know I wanted to sink my teeth into all of life and know myself as all of it, which is more stage 4. I didn't have that concept yet. But then I swung pretty hard into business and kind of got lost a little bit in some of the illusions, which I think is part of combing through. I'm curious if you've had any experience with that pendulum of, kind of moving from stage 3 to 4, and if there are common things or anything you can speak to that to kind of shed more light on. Because, one of the bigger things is is questioning who I think I am. Letting the less I identify with, the more I am. And so it's more of a removal.
Right.
And
which is what spiritual growth is.
Exactly.
It's the elimination of something. It's not adding anything to ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yet it can get real sometimes, like managing a team of 48 or, being a parent on all the things.
All of that.
All of that.
Marriage, parenting, grandparenting, running a business, being an entrepreneur, being in that world, but to be of a higher frequency.
Yeah.
Now, I remember years ago when I woke up, I had my first awakening as an adult, I was so ephemeral. I was so out of the body, so to speak, that I was like, human beings fascinated me. It was like, wow, they're chasing money, and they're chasing all these things that are not that important. And I was way out. I was unintegrated.
Yes.
What I was having a direct experience of was real.
Yeah.
But I was in the process of integrating and embodying.
Yes.
And so then one day, I was sitting in my living room, and I needed some money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, what do you want me to do? Like that. And the phone rang. And this woman called me, and she said, we went to high school together. I saw your picture in the annual. Your phone number was under it. God told me to call you that you could help me.
Whoa.
Hadn't seen her since high school. And I said, really? So we began to counsel. She was telling me her deep, dark secrets of her life. I would pray for her. She started referring people to me. People were calling and being around me for healings and things like that. This is me going to school, getting degrees and all that, metaphysical stuff. And one day, I saw her in a restaurant. I had never seen this person. It was all on the phone.
Yeah.
And I shouted out her name, and she looked at me, and she ran away.
Oh.
Because the anonymous voice on the phone was okay to talk to, but actually seeing me.
Yeah.
The point being, when I said, what do you want me to do? The universe put me into service.
Yes.
So I would be in service, and then money flowed. Money's the shadow of love. You can't outrun your shadow. So when you're really into your love ethic of service, money will follow, and you'll develop the proper structures in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
So you're in the world, but as a spiritual being having a human incarnation, you have come to radiate, to shine, to give, to contribute. You haven't come to get anything. There's nothing to get. But you have come to, you can use the word manifest, you can use the word outpicture, you can use the word, condense something into time. But you're in this world, and then all of these structures that you've indicated, the family structure, the business structure, they're like little workshops by which you get to work on judgment, forgiveness, compassion, generosity, creativity. That all of those are structures for you to actually have a feedback loop.
Yes.
To see how you're doing and to make those inner adjustments.
Yeah, it's like a mirror, right? Imagine having a fulfilling career doing what you love, working from anywhere in the world, setting your own hours while making good money and a big impact. If that lights you up, then I'm super excited to share with you today's sponsor, the Institute for Coaching Mastery. This is my robust, accredited, year-long certification program for newer seasoned coaches, therapists, leaders, and those just looking to up-level their life in a profound way. We have an amazing community of students from all around the world who have really started their journey to expand with us both personally and professionally. And this experience is designed to give you the 3 things that you need to thrive. So first, you have all of the tools and support you need to move past what's been holding you back so that you can completely change the trajectory of your life. And then you learn how to masterfully and confidently facilitate transformation with your clients or your team, regardless of your niche. If you want to do health, business, relationship, or you just have no idea yet, we hold your hand through that. And then lastly, you'll receive my 6-figure and beyond signature roadmap that's customizable to meet you wherever you are. So whether you want to do high ticket sales, online marketing, or you just want to hit 6 figures without ever needing to go on social media, we've got you covered. And this truly is the most rewarding work in the world. We have new students now who have a waitlist of dream clients in under a year. We also have seasoned students who are doing $80,000 months. And this is really about creating lasting transformation from the inside out so that you can share your gifts and serve the world in all the ways that you're called to. And I've seen firsthand the power of what happens when you have the community to collaborate with, but you also have the right tools and resources to really thrive. And so whether you want to do your own personal development, you're wanting to become a coach, or you're just looking for a cutting-edge approach to really grow your business, the Institute for Coaching Mastery is for you. You are held every single step of the way. And so if you want to get behind-the-scenes access to the Institute with 3 proven transformational tools for free to help you create the business and life you love, all you have to do is go to alyssanobriga.com/tools, or you can find us at alyssanobriga.com/apply now to see all the details and apply today. Yeah, I think about one of the areas that I was combing through in my life was money, because I felt anything that contracts us can free us if we use it that way. Like those points of tension are breadcrumbs to our freedom. And so money was a big one. And I think culturally, through our family lineage, our own personal experiences, we can, and I like talking about money and supporting people and getting free because there's so much unconsciousness around it, but to come into alignment with what feels true in our heart based and combing through some of the illusions and misunderstandings we've inherited.
Right.
So that we can come into right relationship with money or relationship or whatever the current trigger is.
Right.
And it sounds like one of the things that you're saying is that in part of your story is like the surrender, that's part of the game. So it's like when you have a deeper trust in an intelligence that is organizing all of life, the planets and the stars, just like your life, there's a deeper level to trust and to take the next step and to do the psychological work to clear the misunderstandings that come up and
the traumas and all the things you've inherited energetically, those codes you've inherited from your family and ancestors. Yeah, you get to clear that up. Yeah. And you in talking about money is an energy exchange. Mm-hmm. It's currency. Yeah. You know, and it's I often talk about freeing the promise in the promissory note to circulate. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's all about circulation. Mm-hmm. And when there is stagnation, then there's an issue. Mm-hmm. You know, whenever, like we live in a culture where there's a lot of hoarding. Yeah. You know, people have a lot of money and it doesn't even circulate. Yeah. It's just like, I want to be a billionaire. Yeah. I want to have 10 billion. I want to have 180 billion. Yeah. You know, but it doesn't circulate. That creates an issue. You know, but when it circulates properly, you know, then abundance just shows up everywhere. It's a reflection of our consciousness, what we're holding. Right. And so to be able to heal some of the fear-based traumas that we've put on money, projected onto money, that circulation, I guess, is a result of it. Absolutely. Yeah. I had a client one time, he's a very wealthy man, and his desire was to write a book. I mean, he was extremely wealthy, so I said, why don't you write a book? And he says, well, my wife doesn't want me to quit my business because she's afraid. So I said, bring your wife here. So we sat down, and he brought in his portfolio of how much money he has. He owned all these businesses downtown and buildings and millions of dollars. She, on the other hand, had inherited millions and millions of dollars. So together, they never had to work a day in their life. Just interest alone was millions of dollars. So I shouldered to her. I said, I said, this is a fear that has nothing to do with the money you have. You have some kind of fear here around it, scarcity. You're living in scarcity even though you have millions of dollars. Anyway, his name was Lloyd. He never quit his business, entrepreneurship. He ended up making his transition without doing his heart's desire. And I always was fascinated me that he was living a life of scarcity even though his bank account was full of money. So scarcity, that's a consciousness.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with money. And there are people around the world who don't have a lot, but live in big abundance. They have their needs met. They love their families. They have a great time. They're not sitting on $1 billion. But they have their needs met.
I mean, I know I heard stories like that. I'm like, but I'd still like to have money. I remember at one point. And for me, when I finally...
Well, you live in the Western world. You need a little money here.
A little bit, right? And to have a healthy relationship with it. Right. And for me, when I found a way to share my gifts, being of service, doing what I loved, that was priceless. No one could take that away. And I knew the level of value I was offering, and that money would just be a mirror to that. And so, but I also noticed I had to heal the giving and receiving, the channel coming in and out around money. It was a little bit different work, but really helpful to do as an entrepreneur and as a...
Which one was the challenge, the giving or the receiving?
For me, it was around the spending. My dad used to be a financial advisor, and so I learned to save. But unconsciously, I thought spending was bad.
It didn't circulate.
And so then I had to really look at my stories of for a while. It was like, once I start making money, it'll change. It didn't, it doesn't. And you have to actually still do the work. You have to go through the fears.
You have to do it. I watch people that say, well, when I get a certain amount of money, I'm going to give to this and I'm going to share with this. I said, no, you're not.
That's right.
If you don't develop that habit, then when you get money, you're going to hoard it.
That's right.
You're not going to circulate it.
That's right. Because you got to work with the fear underneath it.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes, and what I love about coaching is that sometimes just starting where you are now, even if it's whatever percentage, when I'm making more, whatever it is, it's like, let's start with 15 or 10% of giving. And that will grow as you make more.
Absolutely.
So that as you commit to doing that, all the stuff that has blocked you from actually doing it comes up so that then you can clear it.
To be healed.
That's right.
And then now you have muscles. You have a muscle that's already built in to share, to give, to celebrate. Absolutely.
Yeah, and to be compassionate with our humanity, the part that is scared, the part that has scarcity. We don't need to identify with it. It's just a pattern of thinking.
Little baby, just rock it.
So innocent, so innocent. And one of the things I like to do, I call it insourcing safety, to really be with that misunderstanding, or to be with the part that's scared and offer connection. From there, it's easier to give. The heart wants expression. It wants out.
Your whole soul wants to express. That's I call it your super soul self, which you're not separated from, that wants to know itself as your life. Its total frequency is sharing.
That's right.
And giving and unfolding and becoming and expressing more and more of itself. And when we align with that, that's the source. Then all the things we've inherited from the family tree, we become more identified with that which is not traumatized. And then it helps heal the part that is traumatized. And you flow.
That's right. That's right. I talk about it in my certification program as essence and ego. So essence, embracing ego. Let's talk about I'm just curious, the qualities of essence. How would you define the qualities of essence so people can get a sense?
The dominant quality is love. Obviously there's peace. Peace is not an absence of conflict. Peace, I call it the dynamic of harmonizing good. It emanates from your being, just like love does. You have beauty, you have intelligence, you have harmony. And all of these qualities emanate from the oneness of love, which is a total givingness of itself without any sense of withhold. That's conscious of itself, that knows itself, and wants to know itself as us, as unique expressions of it.
Yeah.
You see.
And there's that joy of creation and giving. And from stage 4, it's not even a giving because
it's being.
It's just
you
is.
radiate.
Yeah. There's no connection because it's not separate. It's
right.
It's itself.
It's absolutely.
Beautiful. I'm curious because you've been in the game for a while, you know, being a spiritual leader and voice in the community. What are some of the most common misunderstandings you see people have around spirituality or spiritual awakening?
Today, I'd probably say that unconsciously, people are still like reaching outside of themselves.
Yeah.
They're using the right language.
Yeah. Yes.
But they don't have the music yet. You know, so they're still reaching out rather than coming into an awareness that what you're looking for is already here, you know, and you sit with that. And good exercises are just to remember moments in your life where you actually felt peace, or you actually felt that all of your needs were met. Now, that felt sense is still active here. So if you place your attention there and hang out there for periods of time, it becomes more than memory. You're now activating and remembering a part of your being.
Yeah.
You know, but people still, particularly in the Western world, because the religiosity of the Western world has this man God up there with the beard that's calling shots, and it reminds people of Santa Claus. You know what I mean? If you're good, I'm going to give you this. You know, and so it's a kind of an unconscious way that we've been traumatized by religion. So we're always trying to appease or please this external deity, and that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, it's pure spirit, light, love everywhere that's conscious. And so the idea is to keep having inner awareness that it's already here.
Yeah.
And it's you.
Yeah.
And so that and it sneaks in, because sometimes I'll tell people, okay, close your eyes. Now I want you to think about something you want. Go into a feeling tone that it's happening. Okay, how many people think, haven't raised their hand, how many people think this is really going to happen? You know, and they'll raise their hand. And I'll say, I just tricked you. You know, it's not going to happen.
It just did happen.
It's happening.
Yeah.
You have to hold that space.
Yeah.
And then that compels you into right action. Your actions become an extension that it's already happening. So you're not manipulating people. You're not trying to convince external circumstances to change. You are the fiat. You are the energy of it. And it changes your speech, your behavior, and your actions become an expression of, it's happening.
Yeah, it's almost like it's using a memory to tune into the frequency. I also think manifestation is this, where we pretend, we were like, okay, it's happening, you feel that. And then it's like, oh, even without the thing happening, the vibration of it is still here. It's not being a victim to the goal.
Absolutely. Because the universal law doesn't know Spanish, doesn't know English. It only knows frequency.
Yeah.
You know, it hears your vibration, and it matches that.
Yeah.
So you can say all the right words.
Yeah.
But if the music isn't there, there's no manifestation, you see? Yeah.
Yeah. And years ago, so I was 23 and I was going to a master's program in spiritual psychology, and I was really diving deep into my spiritual exploration, but I was also working in a bar, and I was, making my way. And I remember these were very different lifestyles for me. And I remember not to judge myself at that time, because if I had judged it, I would be further stuck. Right. And I would literally go to bed at 4 a.m. from doing bottle service. I would sleep a few hours, drive from San Diego to Los Angeles to go to Agape, your spiritual community. And I had a foot in two worlds, but very different. And I felt like I was stretched, but I was also, later I worked at as a spiritual counselor in an addiction center. And I really got not to judge where I was, but to focus on where I was going.
Yes.
And in the value of that, I knew that it would be more graceful in the transition. So anybody that's like feeling lost, or this isn't where I want to be, really letting yourself, it's okay wherever you're at. And as you focus on where you're moving, there will be an energy that pulls you through.
Absolutely.
And kind of what you were saying is this tuning fork of feeling into that vibration and that energy. And I remember one of the the experiences that you led at Agape was a manifestation process. And I had just driven up to LA to look at places that I could rent. I was really depressed because they were not what I could afford in San Diego.
Right.
And one of the processes you had us do to manifest, I set the intention to find the perfect location, the perfect new home for me. And at the end of your service, I went out and I connected with a few acquaintances that I knew from school, not very well. And one girl was like, well, what are you doing here? I said, I'm looking for an apartment. She said, I have a second bedroom. Would you like to go see it? I ended up moving in. She became my best friend for 10 to 15 years, one of the most powerful relationships in my life. We traveled the world together, went to school. And it was from this manifestation process that you did, which I loved. It really... One of the things I love about Agape and your community is it's such a high vibe, and you're inviting people to raise their frequency like you're talking about. And I think that accelerates manifestation.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I'm curious, like, are there other things that practices or principles that people can incorporate to help accelerate manifestation?
Absolutely. You probably know how you go to bed, how you wake up in the morning. Extremely important. You know, the idea is you're in the hypnagogic state, and so why not use that time?
Yeah.
Right before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
Just get into the feeling tone of what you're calling forth in your life. Feel that it's already happening. If you want to add some visualization to it, you can.
Yeah.
But you go to sleep in that dynamic. You don't go to sleep in ruminating of all the bad things that happen.
Or scrolling on Instagram.
You forgive everything.
Yes.
You get into the space and you go to sleep. When you wake up, this is very important because a lot of times our mind has a kind of a negative bias.
Yes.
And it'll look for the negative things. It'll project worst case scenarios into the day.
As a safety strategy.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to get hurt to this person. I'm going to see this person. I know I'm not going to like this person. I'm going to protect myself against their vibe, whatever. So instead of doing that, you come into a state of gratitude. And one of the things that I do is I'll lay in the bed and I scan my body from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head, put it into total relaxation. And then I'll say something like, I'm so grateful. I'm so fulfilled. I am now choosing the timeline in which, and then I'll describe what is trying to manifest. I'm choosing the timeline in the field of infinite possibilities where I'm totally prosperous, where my ideas are manifesting with ease and with grace, and everything is unfolding perfectly. I will choose to live in that field. Because it's already existing.
Yes.
It already exists.
Yeah.
So I choose to live there now. Then I wake up, put my feet on the ground, and I go into a state of gratitude. Thank you. And then I surrender to life. And then I say, give me all the strength I need to handle my assignments for today. That's just when I wake up. That's not even my meditation. That's not even the water I drink and the smoothie I make later and the exercise when I go to the gym. That's just getting out of bed.
Yeah.
So I teach people to be intentional.
I hear that.
And not allow the world to determine your mood.
Oof.
Or your attitude. You get to determine that.
Yeah.
So people have this negative bias about all this stuff going wrong, and they'll get into bad mood before they even walk out the door. Oh my God, I got to go do this today. Oh, I'm going to bump into that person. They already set it up.
Yeah.
But you can actually design vibrationally your day, your week, your life.
Yeah.
And it's not manipulation. It's not magical thinking. Yeah. It's just opening yourself up to what's already happening at the meta level and let it flow through you. But it takes what I call discipline until it becomes a blisscipline. It's a word I coined many years ago, that you have a discipline. Discipline comes from the word that means to love. So you're doing something you love.
Yeah, you're remembering what's important.
Yeah. If you love music and you learn how to play the piano, you love it so much that you practice every day until music starts to play through you. So you have a spiritual discipline, and then life starts to play through you. Things happen. You don't even plan it.
Yeah, I love that. It's almost like giving people their power back, the remote control.
Totally.
To say, you get to choose the movie, the station that you're tuning into, not be a victim to the circumstance.
Yes.
You have dominion over your energetic field and what you're placing your attention on. And I think that would be even more powerful from people stage 1 to 2, things happening to me versus things happening for me.
Yes.
Really using everything for our awakening, for
Absolutely.
our healing and evolution.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's stage 2, which is for us and by us. That's real work.
Yeah.
Because you're actually looking at your mind. My podcast, Take Back Your Mind. You're looking at it.
Yeah.
You're seeing the thoughts, the opinions, the points of view, the perceptions, the positionalities. But most of that stuff you didn't put there. That's somebody else programmed that. Or you had an interpretation of an experience that formed an opinion and a point of view.
Yeah.
And so then that perception creates experience, and your experience is an artifact. It's actually an artifact of a point of view. But as you watch it and you start to wake up, now you're at choice point. You go from reaction to actually choosing.
Yeah.
You activate your potential.
Yeah.
You start to choose it.
Yeah.
So choice is a function of expanded awareness from the work you've done in stage 2.
Yeah, because we can't control what happens, but we can control how we hold it inside of ourselves, and if we use that for our growth and freedom.
Yes.
And that's so empowering to teach people. I think most of society is moving from stage 1 to 2. Happens to you, happens for you.
Yeah.
I saw Kevin Hart talk to Jay-Z on his podcast saying it's not happening to you, it's happening for you.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've watched a lot of these people.
I know.
I love it. They're picking up on
Exactly. And it's going mainstream.
Yeah.
It's exciting
Yeah.
because then they're also role models for a lot of different people.
Absolutely.
And this collective awakening, I think it's really important. And sometimes suffering and challenges have an intelligence in it to redirect.
Oh, human beings only grow 2 ways. Through crisis or through insight, through pain and suffering or insight. Just only 2 ways. So, absolutely. Now, what I love about it, because you said I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
So when I go back years ago, this was woo-woo.
I know.
And I was like, Agape was a no-fly zone. You don't go there. That guy's crazy.
Yeah.
It was I was demonized in a lot of circles.
Yeah.
But now this is a normal conversation.
It's exciting.
Yeah, epigenetics, quantum physics, mapping, or using a different language for the same things that we're saying.
Yeah.
So it's all exciting to me. I'm very enthused
Same.
about.
And thank you for helping pave the way.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when I started getting into the more shamanic world when I was 12,
Yeah.
and I was considered moon girl or weird, and
Right.
and it's now, and people they'd be like, how did you have a drink and you meditate? Or, it's like, these things are more common. And so I'm so happy about that. And it's exciting that people are actually committing to the work to do it for themselves. I think that's the best way we can help evolve.
Yeah, take back your power. Yeah.
So,
and then collectively, as we all start to dream a different dream, because right now when you look at governments, politics, people, there's no central voice speaking a big vision.
yeah.
It's not there.
Yeah.
So it has to happen at the level of our communities,
Yes.
our spiritual communities. I like to say there's really only one authentic spiritual community, but it's in many locations.
Yeah.
But as we are all tuning in to the frequency of oneness, wholeness, etc., we're literally changing the landscape of the world.
Yes.
Even if it's not on the 11 o'clock news.
Yes. And I think business and entrepreneurship plays a really big role as well.
Big role.
Yeah. And so, and part of oneness is saying yes to all of life's expressions.
Yes.
Oneness includes everything: greed, grief, everything. Yeah. I know there was a point where I hit up against my own spiritual evolution, where I hit up against arrogance, feeling like I was special and that I knew more.
That people have to go through.
You have to go through it. But I was so disgusted, Michael, by it that I stopped spiritual practices for a little while. I was like, oh,
you got afraid of your ego.
And I really identified with it in that moment, rather than being like, oh, okay, that's just part of the one.
Yeah.
That's just another expression of life looking to be met with acceptance and seen as part of the divine. That there's even the spiritual ego is divine without identifying with it, without judging it, just part of how life unfolds.
It's a part of a process.
Yeah.
The ego has gotten a bad rap, but the ego has made sure that this experiment called spiritual being having human incarnation could survive.
Yeah.
So it was protective. It doesn't know that much about the unknown.
Yeah.
So it wants to keep you in your limited perception, personality, etc. And so egotistic, it can become selfish and protective.
Yes.
Me, mine, I'm right, you're wrong. But after a while, as we evolve, it doesn't run the show.
Yeah.
It's still going to give you some level of protection.
Yes.
Don't eat that. That's poison.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't run the show anymore.
Yeah.
And then the spiritual ego comes in. You know, I'm special. I'm different from other people. You know, that runs a little while.
A little while. It's a stage.
And it creates separation from other people. And then you start to live more from your soul ethic, your soul essence. And then you observe the ego. So there it is.
It's like an innocent little kid. It's a stage of evolution. It's like kindergarten, like nothing to judge. There's a beautiful friend of mine who is a very clear teacher named Locke Kelly. He has a frame, which I think you might enjoy. He talks about waking up, waking down, waking out.
That's good.
And it's like, oh yeah, you were talking about this. You were waking up into, my own experience of like, I am awareness. I am the observer, as if the observer was another now separate entity from what it was being observed, rather than the observer and the observing collapsing, the observer and the observed collapsing. Yeah. And so part of, just honoring wherever people are in their own unfolding, like it's all divine. It's all part of kindergarten, 5th grade. It's part of the process. Sometimes we jump. It's not necessarily linear.
Right.
And to, the waking up, I am more, I'm more than my body and mind in more of the spiritual dimension. And then waking down, I have a body mind.
Have it.
Even though I'm more than it.
Right.
And then
it's in your field. As an instrument.
Yes. And to have a healthy relationship with this.
Right.
And then this waking out, more of this awakened doing, keeping the heart and mind clear and open in a very engaged way. I've been waiting for Eckhart Tolle or someone to write a book about awakened doing.
Maybe you're doing.
I think I'm being schooled in it.
If you're waiting for it, that means your soul is saying, okay, it's time for you to say what you have to say about it.
It's been initiation, business specifically. We're like, okay, and how, and to me, that's really important. We just had Byron Katie on the podcast. And I what I love about both of you is it's practical, engaged, everyday spirituality. It's not this like monastic life, now I'm free, which isn't real freedom. It's freedom from, rather than freedom to my entire humanity.
All of it.
Yes.
Being human is so precious and so wonderful. Yeah. There's a wonderful story about, it might be in the Buddhist context, I'm not sure, but it is said that if a turtle were to go underwater and pop its head up every 1,000 years into an inner tube, the odds of that turtle coming up in that inner tube is greater than having a human incarnation. That's how precious the human incarnation is on this earth. It is so precious. So to explore all of our humanity and to allow the essence of our soul to have full sway through our humanity, it's a precious, magnificent experience.
Yes.
So we don't want to block any of it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And what a sacred perspective to hold that as a gift. And sometimes it's really challenging. Yeah. And to really honor that, to allow that to be part of it. And my experience is when I accept the challenge, ironically, I transform it. I move through it.
Oh, absolutely. It will not transform without acceptance. Observing, acceptance, embracing, transformation.
Yes. Yeah. And talk about forgiveness a bit, because forgiveness is a form of acceptance, right? We can't change what had happened.
When you're coming out of victim, every victim has a blame story. I'm not happy because my parents got a divorce. I'm not, my school teacher said I couldn't sing, or whatever. So in order to come out of victimhood, you have to forgive. You have to, and all forgiveness is self-forgiveness, because you're releasing the toxicity of resentment, animosity, whatever, from your own soul, from your own psyche, your own subjective mind, even though somebody may have done something. You're not denying that.
Right.
But to hold on to that, I call unforgiveness a high form of self-abuse.
Ooh.
You're abusing yourself.
Yeah.
But you're using that person
Yes.
to abuse yourself.
Yes.
So when you enter fully into forgiveness, you become free. You cut the emotional bonds with that other individual. You don't condemn them. You don't hate them. You're just cutting yourself free, and you set everybody free to heal. But it's necessary.
Yeah.
And I'd like people to forgive every night. Not just, during the holidays. But just before you go to bed, you just kind of see who annoyed you today, who was impatient. Maybe it was you.
Yeah.
You kind of clean it up and forgive it before you take that into your subconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that forgiveness, anything we're judging hurts us.
Yes.
And so, it's not about being a doormat, but
No.
just realizing that when I judge, I hurt.
Right.
And so I can free myself of that, learn the lesson, maybe set a boundary if that feels true,
Yeah.
but move on.
Yeah, you'll be guided as to how to operate in 3D.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to forgive that person, but that person, I'm not really going to go to lunch with them.
Yeah. No, thank you.
We don't have a vibrational match. We don't have a
Totally.
vibrational match, but I'm not going to let them determine my mood.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah, more empowering. Yeah, and I think some of the judgment can also be from this religious conditioning when we were talking about earlier, like this God that looks down on us,
Right.
I remember when I was a kid thinking, like, who do the ants pray to? Like a human form? It didn't make sense to me.
That's funny.
I was like, wait, that doesn't feel fair or right.
Is a caterpillar playing to the butterfly?
Yeah, it's like, wait, that didn't make sense. So there's a lot of things that I was questioning when I was a kid, but just to even look at, I remember one time I was raised Catholic, and then when I went through my first communion, my parents said, you can choose whatever feels right. And I was like, there is a God. And so for me, a lot of my upbringing was questioning everything. It's still part of my spiritual practice, more of an undoing. And at one point I looked at what was the God I was raised with, what I was told to believe, and then what's the God that feels true now? And really doing that assessment helped free up some of the shame and guilt I had about feeling like I was born into sin and that I needed to be better and perform to be approved and feel safe. And the self-judgment can come from some of our religious upbringing.
Oh, totally.
The penance.
Religiosity, I define religiosity as loving the scripture or loving religion more than you love God. So that many people are in religiosity, but they're missing the presence.
Yeah.
And so when you get to the presence, you can pick and choose what works and what's real and what's authentic and what's just man-made. And many people are stuck, but many people are leaving that old paradigm in droves.
Yeah.
A lot of the young people don't have anything to do with that. They want God.
Yeah.
They want love.
Yeah.
They want compassion. They want kindness.
Yes.
But they don't want that old God.
All the rules.
Yeah, back in the day, I used to do a process at Agape in which we would fire the old God. Take all those old concepts and fire that God.
Yeah.
And then replace it with the God of love.
Beautiful. Getting to take dominion over and choosing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's really empowering, and I think it's important work to do so that we can align with what our truth is. I know I went to get my undergrad. I made up my own major because I knew healing. I became a licensed psychotherapist. I knew healing was more than just the mind. So I did spiritual studies. I did sociology, so all about community, and psychology.
That's beautiful.
It was some of the most profound courses I've ever taken. I studied comparative mysticism to see the mysticism within all religion.
All the religions.
Oh, so juicy.
Yes.
And death, dying, and the afterlife.
Yes.
Just learning about different cultures and how they approach death and, their different ideas and ways of being, which was so powerful. But circling back to manifesting at Agape, I wanted to ask you about the law of radiance.
Oh, okay.
What's the difference with the law of radiance and the law of attraction?
Okay. The law of attraction is a linguistic convenience describing, an inner process that takes place where it looks like you're attracting something to yourself, but it's actually emanating from you.
Ooh.
You see?
Okay.
So we start off with the language, law of attraction. Feel it, visualize it, feel that it's happening, and then what are you doing? You start to have the law of resonance. You're in resonance with it.
Yeah.
And then from resonance, there's radiation. You're actually radiating it before it manifests.
Yeah.
And then after radiance is emergence, the law of emergence. That which is within you begins to emerge. If you take an avocado seed and put it in the proper condition, then the roots and the shoots will emerge from the seed,
Like the entelechy of an avocado is
Absolutely.
to become an avocado tree.
Avocado tree, it's already within us.
Yeah.
So we go from attraction to resonance,
Okay.
to radiation, to emergence. You see, so oftentimes people Not as much now, but people would get into the law of attraction, but they would separate themselves from what they were trying to attract.
I was going to ask you about this.
It's out there.
Yes.
I'm going to attract that to me.
Yes. Oh, this is so important for people to hear. I just want to highlight, double click on what you're saying.
Yeah. People would want to attract it to them, but they're saying they don't have it.
And that I'm separate from it.
I'm separate from it. But when you realize the law of attraction is a linguistic convenience for feeling that it's already happening in your visualization, your emotional feeling tone, your conversation, your affirmation is all about proclaiming, declaring, and decreeing. It is so. It's happening now. I feel it. Even I can't see it yet with my eyes.
Yeah.
But I see it in my consciousness.
Yeah.
So now I start to have a resonance with it. Ooh, I'm feeling it. It don't mean a thing if we don't have that feeling. You know what I mean? And then I start to radiate it. Why are you so happy? You still have those bills.
Yeah.
Why are you radiating so much joy?
Yeah.
I am the answer.
Yes.
And then it emerges from me. And it can show up in many ways. A book falling off the shelf, meeting a person you didn't know you were going to meet that has the absolute thing that you need for the next level of your business.
Yeah.
It's all here.
That feels like the acceleration.
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you about the 4 stages of awakening and 4 stages of consciousness and manifestation, like how those fit in. Because can you kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Well, in terms of what I just described,
the 4 stages of consciousness and where manifestation falls. Because
manifestation, there's 2 levels of manifestation.
Yeah.
At stage 2, you're learning how to manifest. And in learning how to manifest, you have mature wants and immature wants. You may see something on television. When you're a kid, you think about, I want that toy that's going to make me happy.
Yes.
When you grow up, you realize you don't really what you wanted. You don't really want what you wanted when you were 4.
Yeah.
Know? So as you evolve, the one thing doesn't come from the world. You start to manifest the gifts of your soul, which brings you everything that is necessary to live a beautiful, magnificent, and beautiful life. But your one thing is changing, you see. So in stage 2, you're learning the difference. You go from parking spaces, princes and palaces and all of that, to I want to deliver my gift.
Yes.
And then you understand, seek first this higher realm, and everything else is given to you.
That's right.
You're not even thinking about it because it's just a part of your being.
Yeah.
So stage 2 is definitely manifestation. And then stage 3, it's beyond the imaginal realm. There are gifts, experiences that you cannot imagine that want to express through you. So when you're living wide open, I will for the will of God to be done in my life. The will of God is for what? The greater expression of life. That's all it is. Then you open yourself up to that which is beyond your imagination. Visualization, you're re-enchanting your imagination. But then that which is beyond the imagination is limitless and infinite.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So when I think about some of the things that I've got a chance to experience in my life, I didn't imagine it. I didn't visualize it. It came. It's like, wow, that's so beautiful. I remember one time I was sitting with the Dalai Lama. I was facilitating this meeting with him. And it just dawned on me. He said, how did I get here? And the interpreter was sitting here. His Holiness was sitting over there. And we had garnered together these scientists, these mystics from all around the world. We're having this beautiful 4-day dialogue. Did it with him 4 times. And so the first time I'm saying, this wasn't on my vision board. How did I get here?
Yeah.
It was beyond my imagination, but I wanted to be of service.
Yes.
And then the universe brought all of that together in a sweet way.
And that it really speaks to the surrender as well. And I think sometimes people can tell themselves, I should let go. And that just is another concept that they beat themselves up with. And, for those that don't feel like they can trust that what's meant for you won't pass you, what would you share with people? Because I remember, and just to speak back to what you were just sharing, like the levels of manifestation, there's what I would call egoic manifestation, which is the outside in. I'm separate and the Gucci bag, or the person will make me. And then we feel controlling of that person and situation to stay so that then we are
That's
okay.
manipulation.
That's
and
right.
if you're not vibrating at that level, you'll lose it. You have to
Yeah.
keep manipulating it to keep it.
That's right. And then there's like essence manifestation, which is I am all of it. And
Yes.
how do I want to co-create and play? And surrender is a part of that.
Right.
So that more miracles unfold better than we could have planned.
Right.
But any words of wisdom for people that are afraid to let go or are controlling?
I think letting go is a process of maturing. Like when you're manifesting at stage 2, you start to learn that there is a law in the universe. That things don't just happen, they happen just according to your consciousness, according to your feeling, according to your emotion. And when you start to learn that, incrementally, you start to let go. You can't just wake up one day and say, I surrender.
Yeah.
You can say the words.
Yeah.
But I think when you're doing the practices, meditation, you're doing the practices, affirmative prayer, you're doing the practices, sacred study, you're hanging with individuals that are vibrating at the level you want to vibrate in, then something happens to you.
Yeah.
You actually notice, oh, I've released more. I'm not as anxious about the future. When did that happen? It came like a thief in the night. Something fell off.
Yeah.
A perception, a belief, a point of view dissolved, and you were more you.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to make yourself to surrender.
Yeah.
But when you do spiritual practice,
Yeah.
you look back and you say, "Oh, I've changed."
Right.
Yeah.
I really hear prioritizing yourself and your attunement, because life is a mirror. And so as we really orient to a higher frequency, life begins to reflect that. And
Totally.
looking back later, it's like, oh, that all makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. And you are different. You're not the same person that started the path
Yeah.
or entered into your first level of spiritual practice. You're a different being.
Yeah.
And you can discover that because you'll notice there are things you still don't like, but they don't bother you as much. It's like it doesn't bother me. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I prefer that didn't happen.
Yeah.
However, it's not knocking me out of my peace.
That's powerful.
A couple of years ago, that would knock me off my
Yeah.
peace. I'd be mad, or whatever. Now it's
Yeah.
like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But
But
I'm
you're
good.
still centered in
I'm
self
centered. I
and
can make
truth.
different choices. I don't have to be in that environment, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. One of the ways that I work with that is what I call the paradox of transformation, to somatically feel what I'm avoiding, to open to that as a sensation in my body, not a story, but just, I literally this morning was just body scanning
Yeah.
the fear of what it would be like to have this thing that I really love go away.
Yeah.
So that I don't manipulate or control, and I can really move into a deeper sense of surrender authentically. So it's like if the fear of failure or the whatever it is and I would only
That is a spiritual practice you're describing.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would only encourage people to do it when they have a greater sense of resource, psychological or spiritual, because you don't want to
Absolutely.
get lost in the sauce.
Absolutely.
Because it can go, down the rabbit hole of for people that have big T trauma, do it with a licensed professional. But it's powerful to feel the very thing that we're avoiding, and then equally to play with tuning into the frequency of manifestation, like honoring both equally. I find to be really powerful.
Yeah, that is a powerful spiritual practice. We call it going into the expanded state and experiencing your worst case scenario.
Yes.
But while you're in the expanded
That's
state.
right. And I'm so happy that you shared that, because
Yeah.
that is the most important step, to
Yeah.
know yourself,
Yes.
capital S,
Yes.
and then to allow any of the humanity that is contracted, that's looking for presence and acceptance. That's all it needs. It's like a little kid.
Yes.
It wants a hug and then it's off playing again.
Then it dissolves.
Yeah. But it's the
it-
courage to feel it
Yeah.
and to go there.
And not avoid it.
That's
People
right.
avoid it with alcohol, with drugs,
Yeah.
with shopping, whatever.
Yeah.
They don't want. But if you move into the expanded state, experience your worst case scenario.
Yeah.
You see that it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, it's just a feeling.
It's just
not a
an
fact.
emotion.
Yeah.
It begins to dissolve, and then you have clarity.
That's right.
Yeah.
That feels like a mature spiritual practice.
Yes.
And I love that you really qualified. And then what I would say is a resource. Some people that aren't spiritually aligned, I'll just say like a loving presence,
Feeling of safety.
a safety,
loving
exactly.
presence.
The
Yeah.
foundation of safety.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we can get lost in it.
Absolutely.
What are some of your favorite spiritual practices? You've said that a few times, or healing modalities or rituals that you love to do.
When when I get asked that question, it's so integrated in me. That
you're like, this is my life is a prayer. Yeah, I get that.
I meditate every day.
Yeah.
It's just a part of.
Is it just silence? Is there mantra? Is there?
I enter into meditation. I mean, I light incense in my house, every single room.
Oh, beautiful.
When I wake up.
Beautiful.
It's just a part of waking up. I do what I described earlier. I light incense in every room. I make a warm glass of water with lemon in it with some minerals. I drink that the first thing, just to purify the body. And then I go to a place. It's like a dining room, but I have it a special chair I sit in.
Yeah.
And I go into a state of meditation, not long. It's maybe 10 minutes. Then I hit the gym. I have a trainer. So I work out. Then I come back. I make a smoothie. So I have my own green drink.
Yeah.
It's called Adapt Zen, and I have other things I throw into it. I drink that. Then I will do a formal meditation.
Okay.
And that formal meditation will be as long as I have in terms of what kind of appointments do I have during the day? Do I need to be at the office at a particular time? Am I doing them? So it's
flexible.
It's at least going to be 22 minutes.
Okay.
It's going to be
22.2.
22 minutes and 3 seconds. And so there's the meditation. And so I'm in my car.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to vibrational sounds that are behind any music or podcast I may be listening to. It's a particular frequencies that it's like 32 different frequencies. There's peace, there's a deep sense of well-being, there's prosperity, but they're actual coded frequencies. You see, and that's behind anything I'm playing.
Interesting.
On the way to the office. So I'm always in a certain dynamic.
Yeah, but meditation is a big part of it.
Meditation is fundamental.
I agree. I agree. My two spiritual practices are inquiry, questioning my mind, and meditation.
Yeah.
And I very much love non-dual meditation.
Yeah.
Even if it's just the breath inward, I am.
Yeah, I watch the breath. Yeah, I have my own version of Vipassana that I've developed over the years.
Yeah, the body scan for people that don't know. Yeah.
And I watch the breath. I'll establish intention. I place my attention on the intention and the feeling of it. Then I embrace the breath. Then I go into beginner's mind. I've never meditated before. So this particular aspect of me didn't exist yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm beginning. I'm not a veteran of meditation.
Yeah.
This is my very first time. And then I imagine that someone is about to tell me something extremely important and I have to catch it. So I go into lowly listening because the universal presence is always broadcasting intelligence, love, peace, joy, wisdom, and harmony. So I go into lowly listening and I let my whole being listen with the beginner's mind as I'm watching the breath. So then I catch inspiration. I'll catch wisdom and guidance, or I'll catch something. Like lately, I'll catch things that haven't happened yet, and then when it's happening, I say, "Oh, I remember. I know it's going to happen." Or I'll catch, "Oh, I need to talk about this on Sunday."
Yeah.
So it becomes
a deep listening.
Deep listening, lowly listening is extremely important. And you mentioned questions, and I teach to ask empowering questions. Never ask questions that are disempowering. What's wrong? Who's to blame? Or why me? You ask, what good is here that I presently cannot see? Ask, what gift is this experience bringing to me?
What can I learn from this?
What can I learn from this? What's trying to emerge in my life right now? The universe will answer that question.
Yeah, because the mind will just focus on whatever you give it.
Right.
So that you're redirecting the mind.
Absolutely.
As a practice, inner gym, working it out so that you really stay in that higher frequency.
And I love the question, how can it get better than this?
Yes.
I love that one.
Yeah.
So even if something's going wrong, according to your mind, or whether something is going really nice, how can it get better than this? And the universe will show you because it's infinite.
What about people that are facing a particular challenge right now? They're listening to this. Like, I just heard the redirecting the mind, which I think is so powerful and helpful. What would you share with somebody that's really feeling lost and confused? Every
being has we talked about this a little bit earlier, has some little memory of things being okay. Mm-hmm. It can be when you were 3 years old.
Yeah.
Your grandmother hugged you.
Yeah.
You take that seed memory and you close your eyes, you breathe into it, and you allow every time you exhale for that feeling to magnify. Mm. So you're magnifying the feeling tone of that memory until it starts to become dominant in your awareness. And then from this expanded consciousness, you can ask a question. Mm-hmm. What is it that's mine to do where this challenge is concerned?
That's good. I'm just taking that one in. That was good.
Yeah. What is my next step that I should take?
Yeah.
But you're not asking it from victim.
Right. You're asking from stillness and doing deep listening.
Right. And in a connection of a memory when you felt safe.
Right.
So you're asking from a higher order of being. Mm-hmm.
And to feel that in your body in a really grounded way. Yes. Yeah. So it's like, who do I feel most loved by? Could be another a prompt.
Could be your dog.
Yeah. How does my dog see me? Right. And that evokes a sense of love, which you are. Right. And then what I'm hearing you say is you focus and presence that. It awakens it more fully. It's a new neural network. And then you're programming more aliveness, more creativity, more what's good.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're available.
Yeah.
To the wisdom that's perennial and is happening all the time.
Yeah.
This presence doesn't go on and off.
Yeah. So important. So important.
You never have to pray for the presence to be the presence. Please be God.
Yeah.
Please. No.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
That's
You're not praying for the sun to be hot.
Yeah.
You're just going out in it and getting your vitamin D.
I know. There's a part of a spiritual stage where it's like, I got it, I lost it.
Right.
It's like, whatever I got, I didn't lose because that wasn't it. Right. That's a state of consciousness.
It's a state.
And yet the context, the projector awareness, the truth of what I am is always here.
Always. And your state, when you normalize a state, the next stage emerges.
Yeah.
The stage emerges from a normalized state.
Mm-hmm. But you're not grasping on it because you know what you are in a deeper context.
Absolutely.
And by accepting the grief and by offering compassion to the sadness, whatever it is, by fully allowing it, ironically, it opens us to what's beneath it.
Yes.
Peace. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, one last question, and this is more for me. So before we started the podcast, I was talking about how I did this ceremony with my dad and starting to really learn how to receive. And I know that this is a big thing for women specifically, where we can feel like we don't want to be a burden to others, or feel like I don't want to feel bad.
Women don't want to take up space.
Part of it, or like have needs to, feeling bad for that. And some of this is cultural, collective. You're talking about epigenetics. Some of it's personal, and some of it's psychological, right? So there's like different approaches to unraveling this. Given that, but I'm curious, what is your perspective or wisdom on? Or one thing that women can do to support, or myself, I'm asking for friends, to learn
Your
how
cousin.
to receive more. And really, I'm just curious if there's any wisdom around that.
Well, in the mental atmosphere of the planet, in the noosphere, there's all kinds of intelligence that's vibrating when women ran the show. Before they were demonized, called witches, burned at the stake, told to go shut up, whatever the case may be, that frequency still exists.
Yes.
And we're living in a time right now where that frequency is becoming the dominant frequency again. It's still trying to be suppressed. However, it cannot be. The rise of the feminine is happening right now. We're in it.
Yeah.
So,
thank God.
One of the things you can do, you can just Google all of the women on the planet or the last 100 years that have made a significant difference in the planet. Just Google them, and you'll see all these beautiful women from all these cultures, what they've invented. Like 3D printing was invented by a woman. This is as an example.
Yeah.
And
my daughter has a book of influential women throughout the last 100 years. So I could look at that.
And you'll start to vibrate with that feeling of how magnificent, how important, how significant. They didn't dim their lights. They knew how to take up space. Like the Western man takes up space. He comes in.
I know. My male clients, they just own it. They
spread their legs, you know what I mean?
And
women would come in and be like
nice and pleasing.
Come in and just sit back. And just feel the power wanting to move through you. And it's not power masculine. it's the power of life, you know. Yeah.
I was not thinking you were going to say that. That is so beautiful and helpful and practical. Thank you for that.
It's the time of the feminine.
Yeah.
Ride that wave.
It's important that we all integrate that. And I had an Akashic record reading recently with this gentleman who I deeply trust, and was talking about my last 5 lives were a monk and a nun, and that I was part of the Inquisition. And so the part of this is that. So even...
You mean you were a part of an Inquisitor?
No, I was part of the group
they put you down.
That put me down.
Okay.
And so that was part of my pattern around sacrifice and not letting myself receive certain things. And so...
And also probably a fear to shine.
Yes. And that was part of this life too.
Yeah.
When I felt like I was fully radiant in myself, being bullied for about 1.5 years and feeling like my light hurt people or threatened people.
No. Mediocrity attacks excellence. That's what happens. The mediocre mind will attack the light.
Yeah.
Because it's jealous, it's envious, it feels less than. That's just the path we walk.
Yeah.
As soon as you start shining, no one attacks a couch potato. They only attack somebody who's trying to do something.
Yeah, because it's bringing up their own stuff.
Absolutely.
And when I did my inquiry to go back, I could see that I was actually safe every single moment other than what I was thinking and believing.
Absolutely.
And so it was like, oh, well, that was my power. It wasn't even their thoughts about me that hurt me. It was my thoughts about what they were thinking that hurt me. And so there's an understanding of it conceptually, but there's still, like, why I love coaching is because as we take steps to share more fully, any of that stuff comes up to be integrated in a somatic or a deeper way.
Absolutely.
Which is where I'm at
You
right
just
now.
reminded me of a client I had. It's a young woman, brilliant, writer, creative, but she always sabotaged herself before she would allow the success to come in.
Yeah.
And so we're in counseling session, and I had a friend of mine who is a spiritual practitioner, but also a hypnotherapist. And I said, I want you to do one session with this woman. So she put the lady under, and she remembered when she was a little girl, 3, 4 years old, her mother and father were separated. So her mother would leave her home because her mother had to go work.
Yeah.
Today that'd be called child abuse.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And during the time that she was left alone, the neighbor abused her.
Oh.
Okay?
Yeah.
So she went through this hypnotic trance, so to speak, and she saw that during that time, angels were all around her, holding her, these powerful presence. So when she came out of that, what became a part of her being was, yes, X, Y, and Z happened.
Yeah.
But God was always there.
Yeah.
The angels were always there. I was safe. And then that became her dominant feeling. And then she stopped sabotaging.
Yeah.
You know, she forgave, and that became her dominant feeling. The angels are always here. So she actually had that as a felt experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that reprograms. Because I know
totally reprogrammed her mind.
a lot of people think like the other shoe's going to drop, these upper limits.
Yes.
So would that be one thing that you would encourage people to do with this, like, because you were talking about the fear-based mind. It's a protective, it's a safety strategy.
It's a bias towards negativity to protect ourselves.
Yes.
That's why the affirmation of how can it get better than this, but feeling it. How can it get better than this?
But that's going to bring up the upper limit.
Yes.
So then the fear is going to get louder as it's like getting better.
Is always going to be what is called chemicalization, the psychological term that speaks to whenever you go to another frequency, everything unlike that comes up to be healed.
Yes.
So yes, that becomes a part of the process.
Yeah, to see through it, to look at it.
Yeah, but so after a while, you don't take a bad day as a federal case. You take it as a part of the process. Something's being cleared.
Yeah.
Something's being cleaned out.
Yeah.
Something's being healed, you know. It's like if you're fasting, what happens?
Yeah, I'm on a cleanse right now.
There has some days where it's like, oh my God, I'm going to eat.
Symptoms, yeah.
But you're getting rid of toxins.
Yes.
So the mind is saying, oh, this is terrible. I'm feeling bad.
So important that you're saying this, because I want to highlight it, that people think sometimes they're going into psychological or spiritual work thinking it's getting worse. Yeah. This is actually the detoxification.
Absolutely.
This is helping become aware of everything that's been running you so that you can clear it in service to greater alignment.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
The worst day for your ego is sometimes the best day for your soul.
That's right. I had Even my experience in middle school was like the thing that caused so much challenge and trauma for me actually led me back to a spiritual path.
Yeah.
So there's you also to see the gifts in it, the guidance, the divine design within all of it. Yeah.
So all that what we're saying is planting seeds for people to just see things in a different perspective and to add a little bit of spiritual practice, intentionality, and then old Mo takes up momentum.
Yeah.
Takes over from inertia. And next thing you know, you're living a different life.
Yeah.
It's not just a temporary lifestyle. It's actually you're living a different life.
Totally. Yeah. One of the things I'm taking away from this conversation that I'm going to implement, and I encourage people to do the same, whatever felt alive and true for them, is I loved how you were talking about don't let the day dictate your energy and frequency to really not be a victim. I talk about this in my certification, not be a victim to the goal. Right. And so, but doing that with my energy every single day and practicing that and attuning and taking dominion over how I want to navigate.
That's what it means to take back your mind. That's what it means to take back your heart.
Yeah.
Take back your life.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my goodness, we could keep going. I just love and adore you. Thank you for coming on. And I know people are going to want to stay connected. I know you have so many things that you're up to. Share with us how people can stay connected.
They can connect with me at michaelbeckwith.com, which is my personal website. Lets people know what I'm up to, where I'm going to be speaking and that kind of thing, teaching. They can go to agapelive.com, which plugs them right into the spiritual community where I speak there every Sunday, pretty much.
So good.
3 services every Sunday. I do a way of meditation service, 6:45 a.m.
And being in community is so powerful and important. So I just want to highlight that when you are offering such a high vibe, beautiful community. I think, people are just drawn to the work that you do that are just incredible people.
It's beautiful. And I'm watching now all these, young people come through the community with their kids. And, it's like I've watched all these different generations grow up and do major things in the world. It's very powerful. These teens grow up. I have a teen, well, he's not a teen anymore. He's now on my board of trustees, but I watched him grow up. He became the student vice president at UCLA, president at Harvard, graduated, went into finance. Now he's on my board. But he's been in these teachings all his life, And so these parents want their kids to grow up without dogma, but within a real sense of community. So I've said over the years that authentic spiritual community grants you immunity from the lower frequencies of life. So they can go to my Instagram page. I have something every day that's inspirational on the Instagram.
Oh, that's incredible.
And
that you
the
do
website,
it every day.
And the Facebook. It's all there.
Yeah.
And they go to YouTube or any place where podcasts are shown, and they can see Take Back Your Mind podcast. They may even see you on there one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the work that you're doing in the world, the way that you lead with your heart. Even when you just came into my home, I could feel the frequency that you are both operating in. And what a blessing you are in this world.
And you're a blessing. I felt you as soon as I walked in too. It was beautiful. I said, oh, this is a beautiful woman.
Here
I
we
love
are.
this.
Yeah. What a gift. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for doing this work that changes the world, starting with yourself. It truly does make a difference. And if you're finding value in this podcast, a cost-free way to support us is by leaving an up to 5-star review. It does mean the world to us. And as a thank you gift, we're going to send you one of the most powerful tools that you will ever discover. You're going to get behind-the-scenes access showing you how to live into your full potential without letting fear hold you back from stepping into your dreams. Just head over to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave a review now. You can take a screenshot before hitting submit and then go to alyssanobriga.com/podcast to upload it. And make sure to have your automatic downloads turned on wherever you listen so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. I have so much magic I can't wait to share with you. And you can find all this information in the show notes below. But lastly, if you're on Instagram, I love connecting and hearing from you. So come on over and say hello. I'm at Alyssa Nobriga. Thank you again for being here. I cannot wait to share more with you.
A purpose is not something that someone told you to do. It's something that you decided to do according to who you are today. But if you don't know yourself, the purpose will be done in your level of consciousness. That's why it's so important how we act. Humanity created morality as a way to define what is going to happen to you according to how you behave. But what the problem with morality was that it was not about other dimensions or about yourself. It was about if you don't do according to what the village is saying, you might be left behind or die because no one will protect you. So everything that we do in terms of good or bad is to be accepted by the group, the herd.
And for people that are like hitting up against challenges and it's not in flow for them, what would you recommend to support them in coming back into alignment?
Well, ask yourself the 3 questions, which is...
This is one of the most mind-blowing, life-altering conversations I have ever had, and I'm so excited to share it with you today. We're going to be exploring what our true purpose is, why fear is actually a good signal, and all of the deep questions like, why am I here? What happens after we die? Join me today with our special guest, Matheus De Stefano, who is a spiritual leader. He's an author. He's a featured expert on Gaia TV and a well-sought-after guest on many different podcasts who's gained a lot of attention through his ability to remember his past lives. So we're going to talk about our journey of spiritual awakening, how to tap into higher states of consciousness and trust your own inner knowing and intuition. You do not want to miss this powerful and magical episode where we share insights about the true nature of the universe. It is profound. Buckle up. I hope you enjoy it fully. Matheus, I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for just your time and your energy. And just before we dive in, because I know this is going to be such a beautiful conversation, will you give us a little bit of a context to your spiritual gifts, some of your upbringing, and how that's kind of shaped your life perspective now for people that may not know of you?
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
And, well, I kind of can... name myself as a rememberer because everything that defined what I did was to remember since I was a child. So I was able to not only remember past lives, but also what happens in between and in other dimensions. And because I had no religious in my context, it was all agnostic, my family. So for me, it was all like... for them was all like, he has a lot of imagination and creativity. So they encouraged that instead of saying, don't speak about these things. Or and that helped me to actually be more confident in what was happening to me. Because it was not like religious or something that you shouldn't speak about. But it was also not spiritual. So I didn't grow in a spiritual context. So for me, it was all about science, studying what is plants, dinosaurs, or this kind of things. And the beings that I used to see when I was a child, they explained me about nature. They explained me about how we humans are just an expression of the spirit of the spiritual realm without saying the spiritual words. It was all about the essence of the plants, the essence of nature. So for me was, I started to learn what spirituality was when I was 17, actually, when I started to ask for help, trying to understand what was happening to me. And I wanted to study education to help other kids that were going through the same, not understanding what is this reality. But then when I was 20, I think I understood that the people that were more lost were the adults. So they invited me to Congress of Education, and suddenly I spoke in one of them, and that's how people started to record me, to put some videos in YouTube, and all in Spanish, of course, in that time because I'm from Argentina. And then it went viral. And I started to do things around the world and trying to teach people about how the planet works, how the universe works, and everything. So, yeah.
I love that your family was so encouraging and that they just thought it was your imagination and that you had a blank slate so that it was really nurtured and not hindered in any way, and that you didn't have some of these religious or spiritual backgrounds. It was just your experience.
Yeah,
it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I had to learn all the spiritual things when I was 18, 19.
Yeah.
Like what were the words and everything. So I used to name the things that I remember in other languages that I could remember. And when I explained what it was, when I explained what it was, people say, "Oh, we call this like that."
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that's how I was learning. As I was explaining, I was learning.
Yeah. Oh, we call this reincarnation, or we call this
exactly.
better that way.
Yeah,
more trustworthy.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know a lot of people struggle with purpose or feeling like, why am I here? What would you say to people that are kind of grappling with those questions? I'm curious your perspective.
Well, it's a long topic about purpose, because usually we want to find our purpose as if it is a must. But actually, the purpose is going to happen anyway. It doesn't matter what we do. The thing is that it can be done in a bad way, unconsciously, suffering, if we are not aware of it.
Okay.
So it's not that we're not going to do our purpose if we don't know it, but it will help knowing a little bit. And actually, one of the ways in which we can understand what a purpose is to understand the etymology of the word. I love to go back to the meaning of the words to know the power of them. So purpose is when you say something that is put in front. So it means that you put it before. It's like saying, I want to do this, so I will throw it in front of me so I can see it.
Okay.
So a purpose is not something that someone told you to do. It's something that you decided to do according to who you are today. Which means that by understanding yourself in your design, which you can use any tool around, like astrology, psychology, anything that can help you to understand who you really are.
Psychologically speaking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Psychological speaking, astrological speaking, you don't have to go in a very deep thing.
Yeah.
But just to understand the design that you are here today.
Yeah. I like the Enneagram as one framework to understand the psyche.
Yeah. So that gives you the basis to understand what is your purpose.
Okay.
So because your purpose can only be accomplished according to what you are. So in order to be done, you have to transform or use correctly what you are. But if you don't know yourself, the purpose will be done in your level of consciousness.
Okay.
That's why usually people suffer. Because
of levels of consciousness.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's not what you're doing, it's the consciousness from where you're doing it from.
Exactly. Yeah. That's also the word destiny. Is what is going to happen depends on not where you go, but from where you are coming from. That's the word destiny, is to move from one spot. Destare, which is I'm here and I move from here.
Okay.
So destiny is not what is ahead, is where am I here? Where am I now? So I have to move. So that's why to understand yourself can show you where to go. And that's why it's so important also to understand why the universe doesn't show you the purpose when you are born.
Yeah, you're diving into all the things I want to ask you about. So good. Yeah, I'm curious, like this, blank slate, not remembering anything.
Yeah.
I know obviously that's intentionally designed. I don't know why.
Well, imagine if you have 5 years old and someone tells you, you are meant to be the president of the United States.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Anxious, yeah.
This is anxious.
Yeah.
You will try to study politics and maybe
I see.
you're not going to do it right because you are doing many things before you have accomplished the purpose of something that you had to do before, which is the preparation. A lot of people has to learn things, study things, go through different processes to gain tools before they do something. And that purpose, that process, is more important than the purpose.
Than the thing itself.
Exactly.
Who you become in the process.
Exactly. So that's why if everyone is born knowing exactly what they have to do, the process it's terrible.
Yeah. A lot of anxiety.
Exactly. Yeah, because you're all the time saying, "Oh my gosh, I don't know how to do it.
I can't public speak. I'm not ready to present or whatever the thing
Exactly.
is." Yeah.
So in the other hand, when you don't know your purpose, you just do.
Yeah. Follow
things.
the next simple
Exactly.
thing.
But you have two ways to do that.
Okay.
The unconscious way or the conscious way. So the unconscious way is like, I don't know why I'm doing, and you just do, and you are lost, or you just repeat the systems of others, or consciously, which is, I'm going to do this because I know this will help me to do something else. So you, instead of just do, you discover.
Yeah.
You know that you are, this is crazy what is happening now, so let's see where does it takes me.
Living in the adventure of
living
it,
the adventure.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's more consciously.
I can hear somebody saying, like, how do I know if I'm on purpose, if I'm doing it consciously?
Here we go. Aroha mai whānau. We're back. Aroha mai for the short little absence. That was a great video though. The conversation with Michael Beckwith and Alyssa. We are going to talk. We're gonna have a little conversation about this at some other point. About that video. The four stages of four stages of spiritual awakening. When the world is happening, we feel like the world is happening to us. When the world is happening for us or by us. When the world is happening through us, and when the world is happening as us. And he went in and explained all of that. But we're going to go into that some other time. I'm going to leave this podcast at that. I just want to say too, this is just pilot stages of this podcast, so we have all the background and everything. I mean, ideally, I'm in a cold room. I mean, right now I'm in a cold room, and ideally, I'd like to be in a nice, better environment. I'm working on that. But that being said, I mean, I think that's why my conversation was a little bit, because I was cold. I'm cold. So tomorrow we're going to come back and revisit this video and have a little conversation about those four stages of spiritual growth, spiritual evolution. So peace, love, and life to the fam. Peace to you all. I hope you have a great day. The next time we do this, because I have other duties to do, and I'm working out the timing how I can work this in. But tomorrow or in future episodes, we're going to be able to. I'm going to suggest that we all take notes on these things, and then we can have a conversation about them after, sort of like a talkback radio type thing, where we can where you can give your opinions about what you think it is. I'm trying to make this thing so that it's like on your way to work. We pick up a conversation, something that you can listen to while you're in the car, and it can provoke thought and get you thinking and really start your day off. And at some point, we're going to be able to do it on Zoom, or we're going to be able to do it on, have a Zoom sort of class where you can take notes and then you can give your commentary afterwards, where you can give your opinions and what you thought about video and perhaps share some of your life experiences. But today, this has been your show with Rawiri Nuku, your host on Holistic Heads, and I hope you all have an enjoyable day. Have a beautiful day. The sun is shining. Go out there and make the most of the day. Peace, love, and life to the fam. Mauri ora, mauri aroha me te maunga rongo whānau. Peace, love, and life.